So you're probably wondering, how did you land a job in UX with the skills that you already had? Most UX courses these days really focus on teaching hard skills in order to become a UX designer, like prototyping, wireframing, information architecture, yada yada. But what is just as important to hiring managers are the soft skills. And you've probably already developed a few of these soft skills, whether that's in school or the current job that you have. And honestly, there's a ton of soft skills that make for a good UX designer, and there's like just way too many for me to fit into this video today. So I'm going to go over the top 5 that I believe helped me land a job in UX design. So the first soft skill is drive and passion. Now, I've seen here and there that being a successful UX designer means that you should be passionate about the work that you do. And I agree to that to an extent. I could definitely see hiring managers wanting to hire the designer who has more excitement and passion versus the designer who's just kind of trying to get by. I added this one in there because I don't really think it's black and white, and here's my word of caution on this. Sometimes in this field, I really do feel like there's just this constant pressure to have to learn everything all the time because the industry that we're in is always changing. And I feel like in order to get a leg up or like be that designer that gets hired over the other one, there's again like that pressure to have to learn everything and make sacrifices on like weeknights or weekends or whatever in order to level up your design skills and kind of beat the competition. But in my personal opinion, I just feel like that's kind of unrealistic. To find a designer who's constantly plugged into the community and going to a bunch of different meetups or like on UX Twitter and is super active on it and is like on speaking panels or knows every single tool, that's just a lot. I myself don't even do all that. And you know why? Because I actually really like UX and I like the industry and I like the community and I want to keep it that way. And in order to do so, I have to be able to maintain my work-life balance and not go into burnout. So for me, it's really just all about balance, just picking and choosing the things that I really enjoy in terms of design and kind of immersing myself in that outside of work here and there, but I'm not doing it 24/7. And I'm not putting pressure on myself to have to do that just to get a leg up in the game because I just find it incredibly unrealistic. The next soft skill is communication. Now this one's kind of an obvious one, not just for design, but like any job, obviously communication is really important, but you'd be surprised a lot of departments have a hard time communicating with designers. You could be like the coolest person in the world, but if there's a lack of communication and it's hard to kind of like establish a working relationship, it's next to impossible for anyone to get their jobs done. Even for me, when I first start a new job, I try to really get to know each member of the team that I'm working with to really understand their goals. And after getting to know them and identifying what they typically look for, I try to tailor my communication and invest a little bit more time in my messaging. And with seamless communication, we're ultimately going to get higher quality collaboration, teamwork, better design work, and ultimately better experiences for the users. The next soft skill is flexibility. Given the profession and the industry that UX is in, you have to be willing to adapt to new trends and tools. And not only is the industry always changing, but the actual role of a UX designer also comes with challenges of things changing, even if they are last minute. I can't even tell you the number of times I've worked on a design or a project for like weeks on end, and then I find out that it's no longer needed either because of like a business decision or priorities have changed. I used to kind of have a hard time accepting going with the flow. Like that was never something that someone would describe me like, oh, Mimi goes with the flow. Like my friends know that I'm kind of a planning perfectionist. But honestly, because of this career, and probably because of the pandemic, I've learned to really let go of things and just accept that it's the way of life. All right, so this next one I think is kind of overlooked and it can be a little bit difficult to develop as a soft skill, and that's storytelling. So every design has a story. When you're going through the UX design process, it's essentially walking through the user's needs and the value that the solution will provide. And by telling a story, it makes it a lot easier for everyone to understand what you observed and what you'd recommend. This is especially important in UX research. Once research is conducted and findings are distilled distilled down into a presentation, which you typically would show to other stakeholders in your organization or maybe even clients. It's really important to have a beginning and an end. This really helps evoke a feeling and ultimately could help you better gain buy-in from these stakeholders. It's also really important to tell a story because it really communicates effectively how important it is that we solve this problem for the user. The next soft skill is talked about a lot in this industry, and that is the ability to take criticism. It's really important as designers to not take constructive criticism personally and let it stop you from continuously being creative. I've mentioned this in a previous video as something you should avoid as a bad habit for UX designers, and I will link that up here. Because if this isn't a skill that you have as a UX designer, I feel like your road or your whole career is going to be really, really difficult. The whole idea of feedback is such a huge part of the UX design industry and the culture. And I think when looking for a place to work too, it's really imperative that we find a place that fosters giving and receiving feedback as a way to help not only the user, but your growth as a UX designer. Just remember that designs will never be perfect. The first draft of all my designs are always redlined to filth by my colleagues, maybe even my second one, my third one, my fourth one, who knows? And I honestly encourage it. Getting constructive criticism now is just part of the entire design process. And it's also kind of fun to explore different angles of your design through the eyes of your colleagues. Okay, so now you're like, thanks for the soft skills, Mimi, but where am I supposed to develop and practice these? Well, you're gonna wanna watch this video next.